Introduce our first speaker. So, this is someone who invites you to slow down, tune in, and remember what your body has known all along. Angela is a holistic nutritional consultant, a mindfulness practitioner, author, and a passionate advocate for cultivating inner wisdom in a noisy world. Her work weaves together ancient principles, modern science, and deep presence to help you connect with your intuition to make empowered, personalized choices. Angela spends her time with her husband, 2 children, walking in the woods, drinking tea. She can be found making medicine and teaching here at the Light Cellar, and more recently has returned to nutritional consulting one-on-one with clients. After 20 years of guiding herself and educating others on the path of healing, Angela doesn't just offer information, she offers insight. She believes that when we quiet the noise and listen to the body, you will find clarity, confidence, and real sustainable health. Please join me in welcoming a woman who is here to help us reawaken and empower our inner knowing, Angela Bewick.
Thank you. Thank you, Malcolm, and a big thank you to Malcolm for making us all step out of our comfort zone. So I am going to invite us, because I feel quite like a lot of energy, and maybe some other fellow speakers tonight might as well. Maybe some of you in the audience are nervous for it as well. I'm going to invite us to just take 3 deep breaths, ground ourselves in the present moment. Check in with your jaw and your shoulders. And I'm going to invite you now to open your eyes if they're closed, and then come walk in the forest with me. Not literally, we're going to stay in the room. But you enter the forest path and you see the trees. Let's imagine we're in an Alberta forest, because here we are. Conifers everywhere, all different heights. How do they know how high to grow? What makes a conifer, what makes a pine grow so tall? Well, there's a little thing, the lead bud on the tree is called the apical bud or the apical bud, and it senses light and dark. And it tells the tree, sends hormones down, and it tells the tree how high to go. So it's using this very subtle kind of antenna to determine how high to grow. It's a very energetically expensive process, so it needs to kind of feel it out. Now, we are a lot like these trees. We use the external and we meld it with the internal, and we decide how to adapt to our environment, how to connect, and how to be guided by that intuition. And we do this through our senses. But our senses have kind of been dulled a little bit. I don't know if you've picked that up. It's difficult for us to sift through the noise and just trust what's happening. So for the next, hopefully 10 minutes, hopefully I can do this in 10 minutes, I want to explore the value of cultivating our intuition and using the body to guide and create our health. I want you to walk out of here with a little bit of confidence in your own agency and your own ability to determine the right path for you. So about 3 months ago, I started consulting. Curiously, around the time we started this group, I started consulting one-on-one again with clients in my office. And I had a client come in, a new client, let's call her Kathleen. She gave me permission to share this story, don't worry. And she was referred to me by her daughter. And we sit down and we exchange pleasantries, and we're chatting about her intake form and kind of reviewing it. And about halfway through, I noticed that Kathleen's kind of getting emotional. She's sort of tearing up, which is not unusual in my office, but here we are. And she said, I said, Kathleen, like, what's going on? What's happening? And she said, I've gone to my naturopath. He wants me to take a whole bunch of new supplements. I've gone to my medical doctor who wants me to start on a particular pharmaceutical. I have gone to my acupuncturist who wants me to start on a bunch of herbs. And I didn't even really want to come to you because I am doing all the things. I'm listening to the podcasts, I'm reading the books, and I still feel confused and I feel overwhelmed. Okay, does this sound familiar to anybody? Have we had this experience where we go into the doctor's office, we come out, we feel like, or any practitioner, we come out, we feel like we weren't really listened to? Have you had that? Or the advice doesn't really feel aligned with what you kind of went in for in the first place? Yeah, well, I propose, this is very common, I propose that maybe that filter of your own intuition isn't quite developed, possibly. And you're getting so much information that it's hard to know what to do. I think that we already know what to do. I think that wisdom is deep within us. And I think what could help is just to uncover a little bit of that. So I'm not saying that we don't listen to guides, because external guides. I mean, think of that apical bud, right? It uses the senses from the sunshine to know how much hormones to release into the body. And I think most of us would be out of business if nobody relied on a little bit of external wisdom. But having that the external cues become a little too much, and it cuts us off at the neck. We get so much information in our brain that we can't listen to that message that's coming up from the body. So that balance is really, really important. So back to Kathleen. We're in the office. Kathleen's an older lady. She's in her later 70s. She was just diagnosed with osteoporosis. And she had just healed from a bout of skin cancer. So she was frustrated that another condition had come up after she had already worked so hard to kind of deal with the skin cancer issue. She was annoyed because she'd spent most of her life taking such good care of herself, and she was also really scared because she thought, is this what my older years are going to look like? One diagnosis after another diagnosis. So guess what I did with her? I did not give her another protocol because the loudest voice in the room was not her diagnosis, it was her disconnection. She couldn't filter the information that she was getting because there was just so much of it. So I invited her to do kind of what we did at the beginning here, to just stop for a longer period. Her and I worked longer than we just did, but we stopped. We grounded ourselves, we meditated. What she needed was space. She needed to pause. She needed to develop a practice that allowed her to calm her mind so that she could hear her body. Well, I knew when we had this time, this space, when I asked her, what is it that your body actually needs? What are you looking for? I trusted that she was going to be able to give me a pretty authentic, real answer. And she did. She decided she was going to start journaling, was what came up for her. She had been a journaler before and she wanted to journal again. I was like, oh, that's awesome, that's perfect, great. That's a practice that a tangible practice that you can use. And I said, why don't you, I invited her to you could try writing about messages that you're getting from your body. And that kind of resonated with her, and she kind of left feeling a little bit more confident. So she was establishing a practice. And practice is how we can kind of work through this, developing this familiarity, because our brains love familiarity. And familiarity is a very hard word to say 3 times in a row, but it's also how our brain develops efficiency and how our brain develops a sort of predictability, a certainty. So it's how we develop habits. Whether the habit is good for us or not, it doesn't really matter. Our brain needs these sort of predictable patterns in order to survive. And so when we have a pattern where we're like, okay, in your neuroscience, for example, you guys have heard the term neurons that fire together, wire together. So we have a cue, we develop a behavior, we have a cue, we develop a behavior, and just like a well-worn path in the forest, a neural connection is forged. So when we make this new path, it becomes a little bit easier for us to tread it, right? And intuition is like that. But hey, I've got good news for you. Intuition, as you all know, this is not a new pathway. How many of you have spent time with 0 to 4-year-olds? Anybody? What do they run from? What's their operating, their MO? Yeah, it's like instinct, feeling, intuition, that energy, right? They feel the vibes that's in the room. So we all have this. I mean, you guys were all 0 to 4 once, I'm pretty sure, if you're in this room, unless there's something I don't know. So you have this pathway established in your brain. It's just maybe a little covered up. You might need to do some bushwhacking to get yourself through it. But Kathleen came back with her journal, not a food journal, which is usually what a nutritional practitioner sees, but she called it her messages her body had said, her body had given her, which I thought was kind of cute. And she goes through it and she said, you know, I still don't know what is going to happen to me. I'm, you know, in my late 70s, but I feel after doing this practice, first of all, from the first week to the 4th week, it was a lot easier for her. It was a lot quicker for her to be like, oh, that's what I think is happening, for her to tune into that. Her little apical bud was like dusted off and tuned in. And so she was able to kind of familiarize her brain with that practice instead. But she also felt less frightened about what's coming because she felt like she was accompanied on this pathway. She felt like she was attending to her own sort of needs, which was something that she hadn't had a chance or given herself the chance to practice for a long time. So yeah, we talked about remineralization, we talked about herbs and foods that would be helpful for that, we talked about building muscle mass so that her bone density could be stronger, but she was able to kind of discern what was useful from the information that I was giving her and what was maybe not what she could let go of. So what practitioners like myself, there's a few of us in the room, what we do is we can provide that bridge between our brains and our bodies. We can help guide. We provide a compass. We don't provide a map because ultimately the pathway is yours to take. And so we trust that when you're given the guidance, you're going to know what to do because it's there already. You just kind of have to dust it off. So I want you to take a breath, another breath. And I have an invitation for you. This is a project. You could call it a challenge if you're that kind of person, or you can call it an invitation if you're that kind of person. Whatever works for you, whatever language works for you. We are coming into a new season of summer. This is a great time for us to be outside in nature, to kind of check out what the trees are doing, what the plants are doing, take a little guidance from that. And I invite you to think of a practice. And even if you have a practice, I know many of us in this room have this practice already. This is why you're going to hear a lot of common themes tonight, because we are a community that has worked on developing our own inner knowing so that we can support everyone around us. This is why Light Cellar feels like so nice to come into, because we're all sort of trying to practice this. So I invite you to either strengthen a practice that you already have or work on letting go of a practice that you no longer need. And that's your mission for the summer. And then I want you to tell me how it goes. You can email me, you can call me, you can come cry in my office. You can come for walks with me in the forest. But I look forward to seeing how it all works out for all of you. And I thank you for your attention. Blessings.